Welcome, my name is LAPIERRE, the founder of the International Institute of Equine Podiatry, and we're here today so that I might show you some techniques and some tips on getting under your horse and handling your horse for the trimmer. I have with me Jessica, who's going to be holding on to Mary, our recently retired thoroughbred. I guess it's only been a few months she's been off the track. I guess she's been out to pasture for a little while, and it's not uncommon. I know a lot of you have retired racehorses that you're bringing back and rehabilitating for show or for pleasure, and that's where Mary's at right now. So we're going to teach her how to pick her feet up, which actually she's very good at. We're going to show you some techniques on how to pick these feet up. And I'm going to have Jessica work as my handler. And I've already explained to Jessica that we want to have the handler always on the same side as the trimmer. She has a lot of control holding the head of the horse. The head of the horse will control the back end of the horse. If I'm under the horse at the front end, she'll want to move the head away from me if something happens. And if I'm at the back of the horse and I'm under the horse, she'll want to move the head towards me so that the hind end goes away from me. So she has quite a bit of control up there as the handler, and I'm very confident that she'll be fine for me. What I'm going to do is explain how we get a horse to pick its foot up. Sounds something very simple to most people, is picking the feet up. But actually how we teach a horse to pick the feet up is very important. All too often we set ourselves up for failure, and we really don't want to do that. We want to always set ourselves up for success. Even if something as simple as picking up the horse's foot, if we can do it with success, it'll build on anything else we want to do with the horse in our training routine. So to set our horse up for success, first we have to understand the anatomy of the horse, understand what the stay apparatus is on the front of the horse. For those of you not familiar with the stay apparatus, it is the apparatus that allows the horse with a small amount of muscle tonus in its neck to lock its knees back into position so that the horse can sleep standing up. Well, how important is this to picking up a horse's foot? Well, it's extremely important, because if the horse has locked its stay apparatus, you could lift all day and you're going to set yourself up for failure. So what we want to do is set the horse up for success. In order to do that, we have to make sure that the weight is distributed correctly on the horse. If we were to consider this, let's think of a kitchen table, if you will. It has 4 legs. If I pulled one leg out, in all likelihood, the table is going to fall. But now if I had a vase on that table, and I put the vase at the farthest corner away from the leg we wanted to pick up, now I'd be able to take the leg out and the table would stand. Well, we basically want to set our horse up the same way. We don't want it standing square on all 4 feet, but we want to establish a tripod opposite the leg we want to pick up. If we observe the horse right now, obviously the foot that I would want to pick up, if we pan down, would be the right hind. It's set on a tripod of the other 3 feet and easily picks up the opposite hind. But I don't want to be running around the horse trying to pick up that foot. We'd be here all day chasing the horse around, and Jessica would probably get angry at me and ask me to leave. So as a trimmer, I'm going to set this horse up, which I just did with that simple movement of my hand. You could see the horse move. What I want to do is use some zones on this horse to teach it basically a new line of communication. And a line of communication with the horse, just like in any other horsemanship, is with pressure. We don't verbally use commands with the horse. We communicate through pressure. And we can do a number of things. We can either whisper to our horse, talk to our horse, or we can yell at our horse. When we work with the horse to trim, we want to communicate through a talk. If I came to Jessica and did this, she has no idea what I want. If I came to her and did this, she knows I'm mad at her. But if I came to her and asked her to move to the side, she'll move to the side. It's the same with our horse. If I want to transfer weight to the opposite fore, which is what I want to do in this process, I would apply pressure in the mode of a talk, not a yell or a whisper. I see many people, my students, we have students at the International Institute of Equine Podiatry on a weekly basis, and we try to teach them how to work with horses so they can get safely under the horse for trimming. And all too often they come to the horse, and the first movement they make is they come here and they're doing this. This horse has very little idea of what I want. It's confused already as to what I want. She's looking to me for answers. If I remember that there are specific zones on the horse that we can use to communicate, it makes it much easier to communicate clearly with our horse. In traditional horsemanship, we have a number of areas, different trainers such as Pat Pirelli and John Lyons and Richard Shrake. They all have different zones on the horse that they use, but they come down to pretty much this area for moving a horse forward. We apply pressure with our leg behind the girth. The area here for applying a crop or a leg to get lateral movement or forward movement. Here with our hind end to get the horse to move forward. And then any other areas that we would see a lot of times would be considered predator zones, where predators may attack the horse from above. So those areas we're simply going to label as no zones. We're not going to touch those zones. The top zone and the bottom zone. We're going to stay out of that zone and try to communicate some new language to the horse that will allow us to communicate quickly. And the area that I found works the best is an area that's a C right about here that we call the comfort zone. It runs right down the center of the horse, down the center of the shoulder, and back over the hock. Those areas being a comfort zone, meaning that I can communicate comfortably with the horse without getting any movement. You know, people always ask me, because we know what we do with horses is we want to apply pressure and get a release from pressure. We want a horse to give to pressure. Well, it's kind of difficult to do when you're a trimmer because you're always locking the horse in between your legs and applying pressure. So how is it that we actually relieve pressure? Well, it's not a release of pressure. It's coming to an understanding with the horse that there's a compromise to where we both are comfortable with the amount of pressure that we are applying, and that if I exceed that pressure, the horse becomes uncomfortable. If the horse exceeds the amount of resistance that I'm applying, then I become uncomfortable and it gets into a tug of war. We quickly have to come back to an equilibrium. In other words, we're at a point where we're both applying the proper amount of pressure. If one applies pressure, the other applies pressure, until we come back to that happy medium where we're both comfortable under the horse. Well, this horse, Mary, we're going to try to set up for success. And I'll do that by first using a part of my hand that really is unwavering. If you look at your hand, we have a ridge right here. And it gives me a firm place of contact on the horse, so the horse is very confident in the amount of pressure that I apply. Whereas my fingers are constantly giving and moving, the horse is a little uncomfortable. So I like to use this ridge on my hand. And what I always do is approach a horse with intent. Intent is very important. My only intention on this horse is to help this horse get the leg up and be comfortable, not to move. I move to the horse in a firm way without aggression. I'm moving with confidence without aggression. And I always go with an off shoulder. In other words, I don't face towards the head, because even my eyes in contact with that horse is perceived as pressure by that horse. So I tend to look right at the shoulder where I want to be, off shoulder. And I come to the horse with my hands down at my sides, not raised up in a form of aggression, because the horses take that as such, or anywhere above my waist. So my hands stay down low and comfortable, so that I come to the horse and apply the pressure to the center of the shoulder and ask for that success. If I get movement, the pressure stays on until she stops. You don't walk with her, Jessica, you just stay. And as soon as she stops, the pressure is relieved. So we had to go through a little bit of give and take right there in the beginning. What I did basically was apply pressure when she walked and relieved it when she stopped, until she got the idea that the pressure didn't mean move, the pressure meant stand still. Transfer the weight to the opposite leg and relax. And you can see when a horse releases, I'm looking for a number of body languages. One is she's concentrating on me, her ears are relaxed, they're back towards me. You can see the ear flicking back and forth. We just had a big release. She's very relaxed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start by setting myself up for success by getting her not square, but under herself. A little bit more forward. And let's back her half a step, right there. And then I'm looking at the feet. I'm going to go to the shoulder and transfer the weight. And all I want for success was that. I had a transfer of weight to the opposite foot, and the front foot came up. So once we've established a line of communication, if the horse knows what we want, and that's just that transfer of weight, and there it was, that's all it took, that little bit of transfer of weight, now to the hind, now I'm going to go to the back of the knee, towards the head, bring that leg right up. Immediately, I'm going to allow the hoof to settle. I'm not going to pull up on the hoof. This is where people really set themselves up for failure, because if they pull up on the foot, we have a tendency for horses to want to pull away. And it's very simple to understand. It would be similar to me doing this to your wrist, which is painful. It tightens that horse up. So when we do this, the horse naturally wants to strike out in the way. And we have a lot of horses that do strike out when that's a very common problem. So get your horse to pick its leg up and just let it relax. Let it relax. When it comes time to get under this horse, if we were to pick up on the foot or on the hoof, we couldn't bring the leg back because of the anatomy of the horse. But if we allow it to go down, we can go down in an arc and bring it way up between our legs. So it's real important to let that horse relax. To pick up the hind leg, we're going to continue on with our communication. I always start at the shoulder and instruct my students to start at the shoulder, regardless if it's a front foot or a back foot. I'm going to go through the same motions of transfer of weight, but I'm going to go down the comfort zone with my hand, applying a steady pressure that the horse understands doesn't mean move, just to transfer weight. And then I'm going to move the hind leg towards the head. When that happens, the heels have to come up, and we allow the leg to come up and go back in its own arc. So basically, we're going to go over, back, down the comfort zone, over the back of the leg with my arm on the outside, allow it to go to the head, cup the ankle, allow it to come back until we have about a 90-degree window. Right here is what I'm looking for. 90 degrees. Obviously, I wouldn't expect you to get into this position, but I'm just trying to show you what we want. That position, even for the most arthritic horse, old horse, even a young baby, that is the most comfortable position for a horse to be in. If you watch that angle when a horse is resting his leg, we're almost in that same angle. So if we keep it in that angle, we tend to have a horse that's very comfortable. That's about it for picking up the legs. It's pretty easy. Now getting under the horse is another whole game. We're going to learn how to get under the horse comfortably so that we can work without getting into the no zone. If we're in the no zone, we're telling our horse to move. That's the last thing we want to do when we're trimming the horse. So once we establish getting up the leg, we're getting it into position and establish the correct position. So I'm going to start by picking up the front leg and moving into the right position. So I'm going to ask you first to give me a half rock forward, Jessica, if you will, just a little, just till she, there we go, perfect, a little bit more. Set myself up for success, good, right there. Now I want you to just rock her just a little bit back, up, right there, perfect. Now I'm going to transfer the weight, push it towards the head to allow for her to come up, come into position behind the withers, position myself toes slightly together, enough room between my legs to reach through, grab around, fetlock, allow it to come down, up, pushing down on the toe, putting it into position and relaxing in place. That puts the foot out where I need to work on it. It gives me good stability and it gives my horse room in the no zone. I'm not going to come up with my rasp. I'm not going to come up with my knife. You can see where my elbow comes here. It's not going to catch the side of the horse in any way. If she decides to test me like she just did, I'll apply pressure and release. Pressure and release. The release, remember, isn't release. It's coming back to that equilibrium of holding. So she knows this is where she's comfortable. If she pulls, there's pressure. That's how I do it. If I apply pressure and she's uncomfortable, she's going to let me know. So it's this real comfortable position we're in where I can stand and relax and work on the horse. To get the foot down, just reach back, allow that foot to come down naturally, and place it on the ground. Yeah, that girl. You notice she didn't want to put it down because I was right in the stay apparatus. I was right behind her knee. So now anytime that I want to pick up a foot, I'll go to the same position, move down the back of the leg, move it towards her head. What did I just do? I just set myself up for failure. Because when I put that foot down, it was far behind where I wanted to be. If I have Jessica rock the horse a half a step forward, good. I can set her up now. Come down behind the leg and push towards the head, and the leg's going to come up. It's looking for those small successes. It's not looking for the big success of picking the foot up. It's looking for those small successes. I had a transfer of weight to the front. I had a transfer of weight to the back. The horse stood still when I went to move. It wasn't walking away from me. There's my transfer of weight and the leg's up. So now this horse has learned that when I go to the center of the shoulder, it means one thing. He wants to pick up my front leg. And the horse gives me the leg and doesn't fight me. A lot of times, like I said before, they come up so fast, it's not giving me the leg. They're actually trying to get away from me. The hind leg, I'm going to show you on the back. We're going to take a couple of steps. Once you walk this horse 2 steps, just nice and gentle, let her come up 2 steps. Come on up. So we're in frame here. Come on up. Excellent. Good. Let's set ourselves up for that leg. Perfect. Now you can see it's going to take only a small amount of pressure to transfer the weight. She's going to establish herself on a tripod. As soon as my hand moves down or back, she'll know which leg I want to pick up. If I move back with my hand, she knows it's the hind leg. If I move down with my hand, she knows it's the front leg. All right, now when we want to set up for the back to pick up the hind leg, we're going to start at the shoulder. Always start at the shoulder. I've seen too many times where people make the mistake of coming around the back of the leg to pick the leg up. That leaves them open for an accident. The horse flying leg is nothing in between your head and the leg, and you can get hurt. So what I'd like to see is always approach your horse with your shoulders to your horse, your back to your horse, moving your hand down the outside of the leg, always trying to move the leg towards the head. This prevents any accident, and if the leg does fly, you can ward it off with your forearm. It's a lot better than the side of your face. So we're going to work at picking up the hind leg now. I'm going to transfer the weight to the off fore, to the off hind, go down over. The horse knows what I want. The leg's going to come up. I'm going to allow it to go back in its own arc until I have that 90-degree window, and I'm going to move past the leg so you can see that window of opportunity created by the gasket and the tarsus bone. Okay, that's that 90 degrees. I'm going to step back, allowing the toe to settle with the ankle in my hand. Bring my legs parallel to this leg. Create a ramp with my knees and my thighs. Put my toes slightly together. My knees are going to go behind the ankle of the horse. It's going to come up the ramp, settle in my crotch area, across my hip, creating an angle to my outside leg. And then just simply step to the side slightly and settle in. That allows that leg to sit firmly. I am even with my horse. The hip of the horse is down. It's not high, and the horse is comfortable, and I have a lot of control, and I can get down over my hoof to do the work that I have to do. To get out, we simply slide it down our leg, allow the horse to go back, always keeping our arm between us and the horse. And we end up safely out from under the horse. I have another tool that we use with our students, which I find extremely useful. If you're not comfortable getting under the horse right away, but you really do want to do some trimming and you want to work under your horse, whether you want to just groom your horse, pick its feet out, it's called a back jack. It was developed by a gentleman from Arizona, Bob Ferguson. He's a farrier for many, many years, and he sent it to me when he realized I had students. And it's a wonderful tool. It's over here on the ground. I'm gonna pick it up and we're gonna put it on. Yeah. The back jack's quite a unique little tool, actually. It's a bicycle seat on a pogo stick. It is adjustable in height. It gives us a comfortable seat to work from. What's really interesting about it, in my opinion, and what's important about it, is this strap. We notice there's a V in the back of the strap. We have a strap that we're going to sit on the back jack and bring on as a belt. Once we have the belt in position, and pull the belt snug, we position the V at about our hips. Oh, I guess you would call that about, what, 5 and 7 on my hips. All right. And then I'm going to come around to the front, and there's a strap that comes up the front and attaches through the belt, effectively attaching me to the seat. Now we usually get a few chuckles when I stand up. I expect the same to happen on the video. But basically it puts the seat in a safe position on us. The strap allows the back of the seat to slide up out of my way when I get up from under the horse. The strap in the front allows it to be pulled into position so I can sit comfortably in position. The pogo stick, or the spring in the shaft, allows the foot of the back jack to stay on the ground at all times as the horse begins to move under me. So it allows me to get into position on the horse and comfortably relax on my legs and relieve my knees and back. I found for people that are uncomfortable on the horse that it works very well at helping them to stay under the horse long enough so that I can teach them the method. So we're going to pick up the front leg and show you how we hold it with the back jack. Again, transfer the weight, knee to the head, up comes the leg, hold it relaxed, same position behind the withers, behind the knees, allow the leg to go to the ground, come up, take my strap, drop my seat, and have a seat. It's kind of like sitting at the office. We can sit here and do the trim on the foot, do everything we need to do, stay out of the nose zone of the horse with our rasp, and get a good view of the foot. The horse is taking all the stress off of my knees, or the back jack is taking all the stress off of my knees. If something happens, it's just a matter of standing up and getting out of the way. I'm going to go to the back of the horse now. All right, we go to the center of the shoulder, transfer the weight to the opposite fore, opposite hind, let the weight go on gently, bring it towards the horse's head, allow it to swing back until we have 90 degrees, relaxed, knees together. The trick is to swivel your knees and your hips through the window, bringing the ankle of the horse up your crotch, to your crotch, swivel to the side, step, step, creating the angle from the horse's leg down your leg. If you're using a back jack, we simply pull on the strap to create the tripod and sit. Step a little bit and we're in position. So we've got good position for the foot. We have the angle that we want down the leg. This way the horse's leg doesn't slide off. We have plenty of room to work in any direction with our rasp, and we're set. Jessica, when I say now, I want you to pull the head towards this direction here, and I'll show you how we get out. You ready? Now. Pull the head, push the horse away, and the backside goes away, and I come out safely. The trick is if something's happening, the handler simply has to move the head this way, and the backside of the horse goes that way. The back jack is quite safe because when you stand up, it comes out from under you, so you can always move away from your horse. It's been a very valuable tool in our teaching over the last 5 years. We've had people ranging in age from 14 to 72 work with the back jack. I'm real proud to introduce a new stand that we have. It's called a True Comfort hoof stand that we designed. It's quite unique in that the base is actually made of a closed cell foam, which aids in keeping it stable under the horse. We also have a cradle which will help most people get under the horse and do some good trimming. The cradle is quite easily to remove. The stand is adjustable for height. It will allow us to do flare, and we'll be able to do a front or a hind foot in the cradle. The fact that it's foam protects our tools, and it also absorbs a lot of the vibration that's created when you are rasping on a conventional stand. So it's quite a nice stand. It's light, it's durable, it's a super stand. It's one of the best I've used in the last 20 years. So I want to take it to the horse now, and I'm going to show you how we use it. I'm going to go to the shoulder, transfer weight, hind leg, bring it to her head just like we normally would. Beautiful, let her come back comfortably in an arc, wherever she wants to be. Feel for that. That's the height I want that stand, right about there. So I'm just going to let this come down. I'm going to work, allow her to settle down, and I'm going to bring that hoof and put it right in my cradle. And you'll see that the cradle has an angle to it. That allows that hoof to sit in there. I have the high side of the angle towards the cornet band, the low side towards the toe. That allows me to put it right in there, put my knee behind there, and do all the work I need to do. It gives me a nice, stable location for that. Because it is foam, it kind of grips that foot and makes it comfortable for the horse. We're going to lift up the front by transferring that weight into the hind, get that front leg up. I have my stand ready. I'm going to get into the same position in the comfort groove, or the rider's groove. Bring it up. I'm going to spread my legs apart and bring the stand up. I'm going to take my outside knee and my foot onto the stand to put my knee in behind the foot to push it into the cradle. That gives me a good stable location for that foot on that cradle, right there, and it holds it tight, and that stabilizes the stand, and we can do all the work we have to do. Everybody's comfortable, the horse is stable. If the horse pulls, it's all a nice closed cell foam. It's safe for the horse, it's not going to cut the horse, and the horse can get away. I've introduced you to the back jack and to the True Comfort hoof stand with its cradle. I want to show you how we can use the hoof stand in combination with the back jack to do the flare on the horse, which makes it quite simple. We simply remove the cradle, which slips over the top of the stand, and we position ourselves by picking up the horse's leg like we normally would. Let's get her set up for success here. There we go. Bring the leg up the same way we normally would. But at this point, what I want to do is I want to step slightly in front of the horse. Bring my stand a little closer. In front of the horse, taking hold of each side of the hoof, feeling for a downward movement, not forward, not back, but a downward movement. That's the height that this stand needs to be. So if I bring the stand in, I happen to have it set at that height, I can put it with the angle of the stand forward to match the frog. I can place it into position, and with little effort, it stays. Then I simply take up the tension on my back jack, sit down, and begin my work. To do the other side of the foot, all I have to do is do the same thing from the outside of the hoof. We do the outside from in front of the horse or from the medial side, and we do the medial side from the lateral side of the hoof. To remove it, simply take it down and relax. For the hind limb, we can do flare on the stand, very similar to doing it on the front. We pick up the hind leg the same way as we always would. Start at the shoulder, transfer weight to the opposite hind, bring it towards the head. At this point, what I'll do in order to do the outside of the hoof is I'll turn my back on the horse, positioning my back jack under. Then we bring the foot in front of us, pull slightly on our string to bring our back jack up and sit. If I like to use the stand, I can bring the stand in now at this point and just help to brace myself on the stand and work the outside of my flare. For the opposite side, it's a matter of bringing my back jack around the opposite way, lowering the stand so the horse is more comfortable, bringing it slightly under the horse, position myself here, or I can sit if I like, and do my flare from this side. So now I have the flare on both sides, medial and lateral. The horse is comfortable. When I'm finished, up comes, down, and off. And we're all done. Before I close on this horse handling video, I want to show you a few of the things that we use in our trimming in the HPT method, the application of the HPT method video. You see attached to my leg is what we call a calf caddy. This came about as a necessity in my teaching. In teaching, we may have upwards of 8 to 10 horses on the cross ties at any given time with students, and I got tired of chasing my tools around, so I developed this calf caddy that allowed me to carry my rasp and my knife, which are the only tools we use in the application of the method. So it allows me to have my tools safely at hand at all times, because that's where people hurt themselves. They hurt their backs when they're reaching for a tool when they're under that horse. The horse pulls as you reach for a tool and your back is out. So here it safely puts the tool at hand, so that when you saw me working on flare, I could use this stand. It allows me to use the cradle the way we want with the hoof so that we can work comfortably with it. It allows me to have my knives comfortably at hand. They fit in the pocket nicely. They're safe. They don't have a blade exposed to hurt the horse. It worked very well, and I find my students find it very handy at using. When we're working with such things as the True Comfort hoof stand, we're doing flare, or with the cradle, everything's at hand. It makes it safe, it makes it comfortable, and it makes it possible for people that are not doing it full-time, where you're doing 5 to 6 to 7 horses a day, where you can do it without stressing those muscles. So there is one wonderful thing that came out of running an institute for equine podiatry, and that's being able to develop the tools that people need, horse owners can use, and people that want to keep their horses' hooves healthy can use these tools without a lot of strain or effort. I hope you enjoyed that video on horse handling and you gained a few tips on how to get under your horse safely for trimming. I hope you will visit us at equinepodiatry.net, and perhaps we'll see you in the future at the Institute of Equine Podiatry workshops on the HPT method. Thank you again, and I want to thank Jessica for helping me as a horse handler here. She did a wonderful job with Mary. And again, thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the future.